Yo guys, welcome to the On the Rise podcast, where each week I sit down with a talented rising artist to give you a sneak peek into their life, as well as have them share their inspirations and tips to anyone looking to take their craft to the next level, or simply to get connected to dance music culture. I'm your host Gustav, and you're listening to On the Rise. Yo guys, welcome back to another episode, the second episode of the On the Rise podcast with me, your host Gustav. And let's just jump right into this topic today. But actually, before I just go into this, let me just point out that it is nearing the end of June, and it's colder than it was a couple months ago in the spring, just after winter. I have no idea what's going on, but, you know, Mother Nature needs to get its shit together. But yeah, let's just jump right into this. So today I'm just going to be observing and just talking about traits of successful artists, influencers, musicians, performers, any label that you want to put on people who are doing big things in the music, whether it's the music industry, the entertainment industry, anything like that. These are traits that I've pretty much observed over just years of getting to know, having the privilege and opportunity to just hang around and talk to and get to know different artists, DJs, producers, people who are managing big labels and are kind of more behind the scenes of managing these, you know, really, really famous people and people who are just, you know, rising to the top. And so just some background to where this all started and to how I started to meet all these influential people. I started my very first time at a festival was probably around 4 years ago. It was at like a really big indoor winter music festival. And I got the opportunity to go backstage right before the festival started, just through networking and people, and we'll get more in depth with that. But I got to the festival and we took a walk around main stage and the other different stages around the festival. And at the last festival, it was kind of a bit smaller, but the tour guide who was walking us around. Or not the tour guide, but the guy who's just, you know, showing us around. He was working for the company at the time, and he was like, "Okay, we gotta leave soon, or we gotta get off the stage just because there's another DJ coming, who's gonna be doing a sound check." And it turned out to be Snails. Now I had a couple minutes with Snails, and I was just talking to him, and super interesting guy, and he's making big moves. I don't know about now, just for this summer, but I'm pretty sure, you know, he's coming up with a bunch of new releases from what I've heard. Next, moving on, I saw Martin Garrix, Jay Hardway, Don Diablo, and Brennan Hart at another festival just, I think, a couple months or a year down the line from there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet any of them. The kind of venue and the company hosting the whole thing was really kind of strict on, you know, not having any meet and greets or any of that stuff, which was, you know, just ridiculous in my opinion, because that's one of the most important aspects of how artists should get to connect with their fans and spread their influence and just create super fans, which is something that every artist wants to do, is to create super fans. But some things that I observed with Martin Garrix were just completely, I guess, like life-changing, and just makes you put on a whole new perspective. But I'll get into that just in a couple minutes. So I also had the opportunity to meet a lot of Monster Cat guys, and artists like Going Quantum, Robotalkie, Haywire, Grant, Conroe. All these guys. Conroe actually was performing at Ushuaia in Ibiza with Martin Garrix. So he's got some major connections, and I'm pretty sure he's releasing on Stamped Records, which is Martin Garrix's label, soon in the future, probably in a couple months. I've heard some rumors that he's releasing on there, so hopefully that turns out, because he absolutely deserves it. And along with just the Monster Cat artists, I've gotten to know a bunch of the A&R, PR people who really manage the label and promote the artists and just do local stuff. And then last but not least, another festival that I went to and was doing just photography and media coverage for, I got to meet Drezzo, What's So Not, and then the two rappers, the Ray Shrum. not really into rap, but just seeing them and their behavior and everything was pretty interesting. So the next festival that I'm trying to get into is just kind of like a local kind of Coachella style festival. It's gonna have Kygo. It's gonna have the rapper Future. There's gonna be a whole bunch of guys. Brez is gonna be there. Illenium. So it's gonna be an insane festival. Hopefully I'll get to go to that. Just document some of that. Take some awesome videos and pictures and get to meet more artists. But so moving on to the qualities that I started to notice in a lot of these influential artists, DJs, and producers. Firstly is that they're very, very humble when you talk to them. None of them are outright bragging about their success or the strides that they're making in the industry. Everyone that I've met is super, they're mostly kept to themselves. They work and they don't talk about it. They put in the work and, they don't brag about all the how much work they're putting in or those sorts of things, because they know the power of staying humble in the industry and how no one wants to hear about people bragging about their success and just pretty much exposing themselves. If you stay humble and you just keep your hard workings and all the tough times that you go through and just the work that you're putting in, if you keep that all to yourself, people will assume that about you and they'll know if you actually do put in the work. Because when you do put in that work and you strive for success and you put in the hours, it shows through your outward behavior and all just the way you act, the way you talk to people, the way you carry yourself. It's kind of like a subconscious thing that happens with all these artists, well, for the most part. And you can definitely see a difference between artists that have quote unquote made it or have started to get traction or have already gotten, at the peaks of their careers, compared to DJs that are, more just starting out. Most of them like to just, talk about, oh man, I just put in 80 hours a week in the studio, or they brag about how, they just got their first track signed to a label and that how it's going to be sick and it's going to, take them to the next level, which, it's good to talk about these things with other artists and other people, but keeping humble and just talking about your creative process or something like that where it doesn't really expose you is really, really powerful, because the end product that you create, whether it's music or videos, if the quality and the effort is put into it, then it will definitely show when people either hear it or watch it, because it'll definitely tell the amount of work that you put in. So the creation that you put out will basically embody everything that you've been putting into it, and there won't be a need to brag about anything or just kind of outright say how much work you've been putting into it. And it really trains you to be more humble in the industry, and that's something that's really prominent with a lot of these artists. The next thing that I've pretty much noticed is most of them are on their own terms and they trust their intuition. So from the conversations that I've had with most of these artists, they've talked about how they've done exactly what's felt right to them at that moment, whether it's to just drop everything and go pursue music, or to take certain collaborations and not take other ones, to work with certain companies and to not work with other ones, to do certain shows and not do other ones, sign with like certain labels and not sign with other ones. They've trusted their gut feeling. Of course, many of them have managers and those sorts of things, but managers aren't there to really tell them how to do everything. And they don't go around looking for advice from everyone, around them who's helping them. They trust their intuition. And some of these things that I've noticed when I've hung around these guys in just really, really minute things, but when I've hung out with them just in real life and at events and stuff, if they don't want to do something, they're not going to go do it. If they don't feel that it's right to go, go and there's so many different examples, but go to this after party, or go and talk to that person, or go and just different things, then they won't do it. They trust their instincts, and a lot of them have said that trusting your gut and trusting your intuition is a really, really powerful thing, because there's an inner voice that's really deep inside everyone, and your inner voice is really true to everything that the mindset that you have and everything that you surround yourself with, but also the right path that you're meant to take. And if you develop your intuition and just the way you trust your gut and gut feeling, then it can become a really, really powerful tool in your arsenal, basically, of rising to success and gaining more success with whatever you're doing. So a third one that I found is surrounding themselves with the right people. And this is a crucial one that I've not only found in artists and performers, but also in businessmen and just successful people in general. A really, a big example of this one is, I'm pretty sure it was the Ariana Grande and Scooter Braun fallout that happened. And before Scooter Braun, for those of you who didn't know, he's the guy who brought up Justin Bieber as a talent, Ariana Grande, and a couple others. And he's basically like fostered their success and just become their managers and started his own Scooter Braun management system. He also brought up Martin Garrix. That's the last one that I was talking about, that I was thinking about. But he at some point managed to split up with Ariana Grande for some reasons, and she dropped him out of their management contract just in a heartbeat for some reason, and they had some beef. But she knew that he was vital to her success, and that he knew exactly what her persona was about. He basically created her entire brand and everything that she stood for, and she called him back and surrounded herself, with the right people, because again, by intuition, you'll know that these are the right people that you're meant to hang around, and the people that will always help you gain leverage, gain a step up. Because another thing is, you always want to be surrounding yourself with people who are higher above you and who are already succeeding, and who can basically help you step your game up. Because if you're going to be hanging around with people who are lower than you, or that aren't successful in their life, or want something completely else, you are the medium of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So, if you surround yourself with people who just produce for fun, or just, mess around, or there's a lot of people who don't actually want to become a producer or a rapper, but they just do it because they think it's cool, or because, they've been just seeing all these rappers pop up, and they think to themselves that they can do it. It's so easy, I'll do it, I'll show everyone. But in reality, they don't actually want to become that, and then they realize it. And if you surround yourself with those kinds of people, though, that's basically what you're going to become. But if you surround yourself with, say you're just, a rising talent, and you put in work, you put in effort, you stay humble, and you surround yourself with artists that are just a bit more successful than you, who are maybe signed to a label, or have a few releases that they might have and you might have 0 releases, then you'll be constantly moving up, because they might know some people that could help you, or that have helped them. And their success and their work habits and all that sort of stuff, because they are gaining success, will rub off on you, and you will become, the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And this is, it might sound cliche and a little bit cringy, but it's actually very, very true, and I've seen it time and time again with different artists. And it's all up to the management that you surround yourself with, the tour guy, the tour managers, the PR, the AR, different DJs, different producer friends, all these people. It's very, very important to know who you're hanging out with and who you're taking influence from. So another one is, they're always networking, and they're, success is not a singular path where you're just doing it alone. It depends always on the people that, are around you and who you know. And just in my own experience, when I do some networking, I end up meeting people who are crazy high up in their industry, who are super successful, and they just end up giving you so much useful information and tips, and in the long run, they can, for a multitude of reasons, they can come up and, ask for your help because they see, that you are working for something greater, and they can have leverage in that. And so the last one that kind of ties into this really well is being active in the community that you're trying to be a part of. So if you're a producer / DJ, you want to be going out and meeting the local DJs at your clubs. You want to be going to festivals. You want to be going and meeting up with different management and labels that might be in your town. Now, granted that they're not really prominent or those sorts of things, but you always want to be getting in touch with someone who's in that industry, who's in your city. And some easy ways to do this are just to just look up some facts about your city, some clubs, the local clubs. Find out who the company is that's managing it, and find out the owners of it and any people who might be affiliated with it by like company stuff. Another thing that's really popular is just becoming a promoter for the clubs, and this kind of entails with, I was a promoter for around like 2 years before I just recently quit, but it basically entails you to hand out flyers, sell tickets to people, and you make like a small commission off that stuff. And I can talk about my experience in promoting just a bit later, and why I quit and the pros and the cons. But so being active in the community is very, very, very important. And basically, when you become that community, you become known in the community. And where else are you going to meet people that are successful in your industry who can help you basically achieve more success? Is basically in the community that you're trying to become. So for example, it's like rappers. They're going to be around in the studio. They're going to be chilling at clubs, different sorts of things. They're going to be at management companies. Where you just have to think about, I guess, like mostly like the stereotype, or where would you find people who are in your industry. And it's not that difficult. And once you get this ball rolling, you just meet a ton of more people just by, I guess, like coincidence, or just by the multitude and the network that you start to build up. So for me, I began to do this by following all the different companies that host events in my city. So the one that pretty much owns all the clubs here and that hosts all the major festivals, I got in touch with them and I followed their Facebook pages, liked all their stuff, and they had a contest running to become a promoter. So I sent in my application. I followed up probably around 20 times, which was a bit too desperate of me, but at the time I was super, super, super passionate about just getting involved in any way I could. And that paid off in so many different ways. I went to different festivals backstage. I instantly got the opportunity to meet people like Snails. I got to see different DJs live, like, DJ Snake, Hardwell, Jaws, and a couple other people. But this was, many years ago, which I can't remember. And after that, just staying in touch with those people that you meet through these things, I managed to become an official promoter for it after the whole competition ended, and I managed to get myself back on the team, keep in touch with all those guys. And another thing is just go to small events and support your friends. I ended up going to a university party that was nearby with a friend of mine, and we went to support one of my friends, and he was playing at this kind of, I guess, like small production company rave that was hosted. And so I went to it for the last, I guess, hour to just see him perform. He was absolutely amazing. I'm sure I'll have him, on the podcast sometime soon. But basically, we were just about to leave, me and my friend, and we go outside the back entrance on the stairs, and I walk across and I see this guy wearing, Monster Cat hat, and I come up to him and I'm like, oh, hey, like, look at my bracelet, because I was wearing, a Monster Cat bracelet at the time. And he's like, oh, sweet, man, like, you support Monster Cat. And I was like, yeah, I was at all these major events, and basically just showing my support for the label and for all of it. And I ended up networking with this guy, which I'll definitely try to have either in my vlog, on my YouTube channel, or on the podcast here. And I ended up, exchanging information with him, talking about what I wanted to do, which was host events at my university. But we got the ball rolling, and then I ended up seeing him at other festivals. And after not seeing him for months and months, and being really, open and friendly about it, and just, having a really positive friendship and relationship with a lot of industry people, because it can lead you in so many different places. So that's basically been my experience with using these techniques and all of these qualities that I found in many of these artists. And, I hope that many of you can use this as well. And just, if you have any experiences with different artists that you've met or that you hang around, or of just any successful people in general, and make sure to comment down below, comment anywhere you can, send me a private message. I love to talk about this stuff, and I hope this stuff actually helps you guys, because I'm trying to really put a lot of value and just help you guys succeed, because I know there's a lot of talented producers who might just not have the opportunities to meet all these influential and successful, people in the industry. And I just want to share my knowledge of the opportunities that I've had, and what I've observed, and what I've just written down and, analyzed through countless hours and hundreds of events that I've attended, and with just, precious just minutes spent with some of the most successful artists in the industry. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was about the traits of successful artists and just successful people in general. So if you guys did enjoy this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, follow me on my Instagram. You can find me at its_me_Gustav, or just type in it's me Gustav, and I'll pop in with my logo. Make sure to like me on Facebook, and join my exclusive group on Facebook that I started. It's called On the Rise. Basically, I'm going to be creating a community of different artists, DJs, successful people, industry people, who are all going to basically come together and give their advice. It's also for different upcoming and aspiring DJs to just share their music, promote their music, get different tips, find people to collaborate with, get opinions from, and just make, connections, because some of the most powerful connections that I made in the industry have even happened over the internet through Facebook groups. So I definitely want to start that and foster this community of people who help each other grow. So that's definitely what I'm focusing on, and you guys definitely want to go and join that group. And last but not least, I want you guys to just share this podcast around. It really helps, and it'll help me get on, the trending page, and just reach more people who might be interested in this stuff. And I can't wait for you guys to hear the next episodes of the podcast. I have some really awesome producers, up-and-coming talented producers, hopping on this podcast to just talk about their success, being supported by bigger artists, and their quick and upcoming rise to success and fame and all this stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the second episode of On the Rise podcast with me, your host Gustav, and I'll catch you guys next week.